days, I would go up with a group of folks and pull equipment out of storage, test fire and exercise equipment. There'd be a big exercise with the North NATO allies.
Okay.
And then we'd package the equipment back up and put it back into storage. And we did all this. We never saw the inside of a building. We'd spend 3 months in a 10-man tent. And,
oh, wow.
And then think of MASH, the tents you see in MASH, and the heaters you see in MASH. That's what we used. Those are the exact things we used. So,
holy cow.
That was truly the most beautiful country and some of the most dedicated people. I mean, and they truly loved the Americans. They took such good care of us.
Wow.
I truly loved going there. It was like going and visiting family.
You know, I think it's unbelievable that you tell a story and I ask, you know, what is the favorite place or one that's most memorable for you? And you come up with something where you're outdoors, you're in a tent and just not a comfortable situation at all. But that's one of the most memorable favorite moments of your military career. And that's what this is about. You know, that's exactly what our service is for, to take us outside the norms and get us exposed to things we wouldn't typically think would be fun and then have an experience of a lifetime.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, we had kids from lower L.A., lower Alabama, and
that's right,
kids from the Bronx and Los Angeles. And to watch them all work together, I say kids, I do not mean that derogatorily.
No,
it's just
no,
that everybody was always younger than I was. My Marines were always an amazing group of folks. So anyway, I don't want to upset anybody or use anything that was
I think what you just said is something we talk about oftentimes on this Honor Across Arms podcast, is that we come from all different walks of life, colors, socioeconomic backgrounds, different diversity when it comes from religions, all that good stuff. And we all come together in this big, beautiful melting pot and just make things happen. That's what our service is for, and that's what it's about.
Just that's absolutely right, and that's what makes America great. Is we do know that we can work together,
mm-hmm.
and we prove it every day with all the men and women in the service.
That's right. You're exactly right. I mean, there's no doubt about it, and that's what makes our country so great. Look, we may be going through a tough time right now where we're a little split, but down deep in the core, when we get out in the community and you actually have interactions with people, all that back and forth that you see in the media is not happening. You know, we're actually working together, making things happen and pushing forward. That's what it's all about. Man, you're right on that one, Colonel. Colonel Olson, Mark Olson's our guest today here on the Honor Across Arms podcast. So, Colonel, that was when did you have that? That was in the 80s, you said, when you were serving in the mountains in this beautiful area?
In North Norway, yeah, that was right along the Russian border, 85, 86, and 87. I know it because I left the night my daughter was born.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I got to see her born, and then 6 hours later, I left for 3 or 4 months.
Holy cow, that is so crazy.
But anyway,
so your career, when did it start, and how long did it span? How many decades?
Sure. Well, I signed my contract, my initial contract, which gave me the scholarship, and I was technically put into the Marine Corps in 1977. It was the first time I raised my hand and signed a contract.
Wow.
And then I retired here at Fort Leavenworth in 2008.
Holy cow. Tell me how much, Colonel, the Marine Corps changed during that period, because that is a really big change period for the military. That's the age of the digital age. This is technology really coming about. You saw, I'm sure, a phenomenal difference in the military that you joined and then what you exited as.
Yeah, well, I mean, just map reading. We use I use a lensatic compass and a grease pencil and a laminated map, and today I go out to Fort Sill and everything is digital and GPS, and I had problems connecting to the podcast today. It's kind of frustrating and upsetting. Well, it's funny and sad. I used to teach senior officials how to do communications from alternate locations, and I can't even make a cell phone work now.
Well, you know what? You did. And that's really the key is we have made this happen and you are killing it today.
Okay. I love working with you, brother.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And it is absolutely mutual on that one. You mentioned the grease pencil and all that stuff. I do have to say, I came in 99 in the Air Force, and I actually did a lot of plotting. That was, with the nuclear chemical detection stuff I did. So we actually did use those grease pencils. And
okay.
I've seen now, granted, it's digital mapping and plotting now, but I did use those, and I saw a little bit of what you're talking about too.
Another bond.
Colonel, what is the difference in the communication versus 1985 and what it was in 2005, or let's just say 2000? What was that difference? How did you do that differently? And was there a difference in the reaction time that you got and how quick you had to have answers?
Wow, I'm not really sure how to answer that one.
We asked the tough questions here.
When you're a lieutenant, or a young, early 20s in the service, you do a lot of yes sir and yes ma'am, and you learn the basics and get really good at it. But as you move further up the chain, sometimes we lose we stop listening for some reason, and we have all these preconceived notions. So, as a lieutenant at Camp Lejeune in the early '80s, I listened to my senior staff NCOs, and they're the people that got me everything that I ever accomplished. And that's a whole nother podcast too. But who you listen to is the question I think I'm answering to.
It is. No, I think that's perfect.
I always would go to my gunny or my staff sergeant for the most part. And there's, like I said, there's a whole nother podcast, and it's what we talked about the first time with the young Marine that I put in the brig for marijuana. So anyway, as I got older, in 2001, when I was at the Pentagon, I listened to my gunnies.
Sure.
Because so the people that I listened to and sought counsel from didn't change.
Right.
My senior staff NCOs always steered me right. There's a lot of politics that goes on, and as you go up in both the enlisted and the officer ranks, I don't do politics. I don't do politics well. So how I got to where I was is a question a lot of people ponder. But still, as a colonel, I wanted to know what the gunny had, what he had to say or she had to say. Because they were the ones that were going to go and execute this. And it wasn't going to be, is somebody going to get a pat on the back? It was this gunny and a handful of other, service members are going to go out and do bad things to bad people, or good things to bad people.
Well,
it depends on your point of view.
It does. It absolutely does. I've never heard it put that way. That is phenomenal. I'm definitely going to use that in the future.
Yeah. So I guess to answer your question, I always listen to my staff NCOs, even as a lieutenant. And I'll tell you the story. I went in and drank a cup of coffee with the first sergeant my first day down at an actual real Marine Corps unit, a firing battery. And 10 years after that, he told me the only reason that he helped me out was because he had offered a cup of coffee to every lieutenant that checked into that battery, and I was the only one out of the 10 lieutenants that sat down and drank a cup of coffee with him. The others had something more important to do. So he picked me out by using a cup of coffee. And I'm addicted. My last name's Olson. My mom is Mrs. Olson. My wife is Mrs. Olson. And for those older folks, they'll understand the Maxwell House, Mrs. Olson was a spokesperson. So anyway,
wow.
Don't discount don't discount little things. The person that holds the door, the person that set up the appointment for you, the person
Absolutely.
that, made the arrangements. Those people work their tails off, and God bless them, Listen to them every now and then and hand them a cup of coffee.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're so exactly right on that. And that's crazy to think, 10 people had sat in that chair before you and only one of them took coffee, and that's you. And that respect is something that goes generationally speaking. That's something that he's always going to trust you no matter what and guide you in the right direction. And that's something that was a very simple gesture that he took to heart, and it meant the world to him. So those small things, just like you said, make a world of difference to people. That's so tremendous. So, Colonel, you've had the opportunity to serve with some really phenomenal people. You've already mentioned two of the people that I look up and say, wow. General Petraeus and General Mattis, those are phenomenal names. But of all the people you've had the ability to come through in your career, was there somebody that really, and this will be the closing statement, somebody that really hit you and just made you think, wow, this is the person that I absolutely admire and love? And if there's too many to choose just one, don't worry about choosing just one.
Well, I'll tell you, I've said this about General Petraeus, while he was in the military, when he walked into a room, he had an effect on people just by walking into the room. You wanted to do better just by having him walk in the room.
Wow.
And I screwed up sometimes, and he had to lay me out as kindly as he would. But he had the ability to correct you and tell you that you were the biggest idiot on the face of the earth, and have you walk out feeling like $1 million.
Wow, that's
a skill that very few people have.
It is.
To be able to correct and make that person feel good on the way out, as opposed to, in tears and looking for the nearest bar. So anyway, right. General Petraeus, but there's tons of them, and General Mattis, please, for the love of God, don't call me on this one.
Well, but, you know what? It is very hard, and I know I feel the same way. But I can't say thank you enough, Colonel Mark Olson, retired Marine Corps Colonel, joining us today on the Honor Across Arms podcast. Sir, thank you so much for your time, and we're really looking forward to a potential secondary follow-up podcast with you.
Sure, thank you, and God bless all our men and women out there.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us today, and y'all have a great day.
Line over there, send the word over there, that the Yanks are coming, the drums rum-tumming everywhere. So prepare, say a prayer, send the word to beware. We'll be over, we're coming over, and we won't come back till it's over there, over there.